This is the Dynalite Foundation training. I am Adam Wertz. I'm a system expert here at Signify. This is going to be about 2 hours long, and the hope is that at the end of this course, you're going to have the knowledge required to fumble your way through a basic Dynalite system. Now, we do not expect just taking this course to be enough for you to become an expert Dynalite programmer, or to even be able to handle the project on your own. But what we do hope is that you're going to get high enough comfort level with System Builder to be able to navigate it and to be able to do most of the work yourself and then intelligently ask for support and be able to make use of that support because you have a basic knowledge of Dynalite. At the end of this course, we're going to go over how to open a ticket and some support resources. All right, the first thing I want to do is give you a tour of System Builder's user interface. On the left side of the screen, there is the views window. There's a number of different views available. The areas view that shows all of your logical information about the building. The system view that shows a tree of all the hardware components, and then the building view, which brings a lot of the information from the system view together with information from the floor plan, things like distribution boards and how things are organized by floor, stuff like that. Next, we have the properties window. This window here can be switched between device properties, the various other settings windows for devices, such as outputs, preset editor, ports, network routing, things like that. In addition, it also can be a place to place the floor plan window, and it's also where connection settings and job properties are going to be. At the bottom of the screen, you'll have your log windows. There's 3 main logs: the application log, which tells you all the application level events; the network log, and this is the one you'll have open almost all the time, which shows you a flow of all the network data; and then lastly, the command monitor. The command monitor is going to give you a list of any queued commands that haven't finished yet. Should you mess up your windows, you can use the window menu at the top to reset your views. You can also undock most of these windows if you have multiple monitors, so that you can spread things out and have a bigger working space. In System Builder, there are a lot of commands, and most commands can be found in multiple places. There's drop-down menus at the top of the screen. There's a toolbar of icons. And then within each view window, there's often a second toolbar of icons. You can also right-click on devices to open context menus. Most commands are in all 3 places, but a few, like firmware upgrades, are only available in a certain menu. But for the most part, if there's something you want to do in System Builder, there's 5 different ways to get to it, including hotkeys. Now we're going to get on to the actual commissioning. This dividing line is sort of the division between off-site commissioning and on-site commissioning. Now, you can commission an entire project on-site, but we recommend that you do as much work as possible off-site so that you can work in a more comfortable environment that's more ergonomic. We find that it's more productive to do these parts, which are mainly data entry, before you arrive on site. I want you to get your mini training case, connect it to the network, and open up System Builder. We are now going to upload a floor plan. For almost all of this commissioning, we are going to be working here in the building view, because you can basically commission an entire project in the plan view. Here is my floor plan. I need to upload an image to this. There's lots of different formats you can use, but not DWG. You can't upload AutoCAD files. Ideally, you'll upload some sort of vector-based graphic, preferably a PDF. That way, when you zoom in, it won't get grainy and pixelated. In the files you downloaded for this, there's a few different images you can use. I prefer this JPEG version for the training because I like the way the picture looks a little bit better. but there is a vector-based one if you want to play around with it. So now that we've uploaded this floor plan, we can now start commissioning our job. First thing we're going to need to do, place fixtures. That's going to be from the fixture palette here. I'm going to select this round fixture and I'm going to put it over one of the round lights. Uh-oh, the problem is it's way too big. Now I'm going to resize it by dragging from the corner till I get it to the right size. Now what's cool about this is that once you resize it, any further ones you draw are going to stay that size and that scale. So now I'm going to go through and place a fixture on every single one of these lights throughout the entire job. You can copy and paste them, but in this particular job, I don't know that it would benefit you. But if you're doing an office project that has hundreds or even thousands of fixtures that are in a very predictable grid over and over again, sometimes it makes sense to copy an entire floor of fixtures. Now that we've drawn all of our fixtures, what we need to do is circuit our fixtures. We need to show System Builder which of these fixtures are on the same circuit. The way we're going to do that is with this line tool here. We will draw a fixture group. There's a number of ways to do this. You notice when I hover over this, I get a 1. So if I select that, go to the next one, and click, it makes 2. It links them together. And now it's ready for me to do a third, but I don't have a third in this circuit. So I can right click to end it, or if I want to be able to keep going, I could go 1, 2, 3, and then double click the last one. Now I still have the tool selected, but I've broken the link so I can start a new circuit. Go ahead and circuit up all of your fixtures. Don't be afraid if you think you might mess one up or you're not sure what to do. You can always select and break the links later and fix things. You'll notice here that this one angles. So I could cut across the corner, but it's a little sloppy. That's why it's nice that I can click anywhere in space and put a node that lets me angle things. I can also draw and connect things together. So I can select this node here and add it to this one. Now I have 4 in that group. Okay, now that I've circuited everything together the way I think it's supposed to go, I can move on to the next step, which is drawing our areas. Think of an area as a way to logically bring things together. Think of it as like a room. The way we're going to draw areas is with our area tool here. Draw area region. So there's 3 different options here. The one we want is draw area region. I'm going to float this floor plan so that I can make it a little bigger, so you can see what I'm doing a little better. I am going to click at the corner here for this master bathroom. I'm going to drag it down to the other corner and let go. That created that area, a nice rectangular area. And I'll name it Master Ensuite, which is a fancy name for a bathroom that's in a bedroom. Now for the master bedroom, I'll do it again. But what about some of these spaces that are a little more awkward, like this dining room that has a weird corner on it? I can click, instead of clicking and hold and dragging, I can click and draw the corners. And then when I get to my last corner, I double click and it closes it up. It's automatically numbering them. You can change the numbers if you need to. And you'll notice that it's not using area 1, which is for unassigned devices. or area 0, which is a broadcast message. It started at 2 and it's going up sequentially. Now go ahead and draw all your areas. I'll just point out to you that when you do the garage, maybe make it a little bit short so the security and the garage door opener are separate from the garage lights, because in this instance it makes more sense for those things to be their own areas for control, even though they are in the same room. What I try to do is edit the region, take that line and then curve it out to catch those two lights so that it matches closer. We have now crossed from pre-commissioning into on-site commissioning. So what we're going to do here is we're going to discover and add our load controllers. In this instance, it's our mini training case. The way we're going to do that is by signing them on. In System Builder, there is a Insert Devices from Network window. The hotkey is Control L. You use this all the time, so you really need to learn that. No idea why it's Control L, because there's no L in that name. And in fact, Insert Devices from List does have an L in the name. But so Control L will open this window. In here, you're going to be able to find devices on the network. So the first way we're going to do that is by signing on a device. If you look at your mini training case, in the lid of the case, on the left side, you'll see two sign-on buttons, Sign On 1 and Sign On 2. So if you press Sign On 1, you see down here in the network log, the mini training case signing on, and it shows up here. So now what we need to do is add this to the plan. And it's very intuitive. So I'm going to say to myself, you know, I think all of my equipment is going to be in the garage. I am going to drag and drop this mini training case here in the garage. Now that it's on the plan, I can program it. Now I'll sign on my second one. There it is. You notice this one's green and says exists in job. This one's white, meaning it hasn't been added to the job yet. And I'm going to take this and drop it right next to it. Now I've got these two devices in my project. And if I open up the floor plan, you can see here they are. Let me stress, the load controllers must be placed on the plan when commissioning graphically. Now that we've got them, we want to do what's called flashing. We're going to flash a channel, which is denoted by this orange icon. That's going to make those lights flash on and off, on and off. And when they do, we will then know which light that is, and we can drag and drop it onto the plan for the correct circuit. Just a note, you're going to want to go into the floor plan settings for the project and set Show Logical Channel Configuration window on assignment in order for this to work the best way possible. And I'll show you how to do that right here. So it would be Tools, Settings, and then Floor Plan Settings, Show Channel Configuration window on assignment. Set that to true. It defaults to false. Okay, so now I've got circuit 1 here. You'll notice I have auto flash turned on. That means whenever I select a circuit, it will start flashing. Now you don't see anything here on my screen because it's actually flashing on the training kit. You can see on my training kit that the master ensuite lights are flashing on and off. So I'm going to drag and drop that on my master ensuite lights. You see it created a channel called master ensuite and named the output to match. Now I hit OK. And this is now assigned. My second one, I'm flashing it, and it is the bedside lamps. Well, I forgot to circuit those because on the plan, they don't look like they are circuited. So I'm going to draw a fixture group and put them together. Now I'm going to drag that circuit over and put it on there. Now here's the problem. It named it Master Bedroom Channel 1. That's not descriptive enough for me. So I'm actually going to name this Master Bedroom Bedside. Go ahead and flash all of your channels and then drag and drop them wherever they come up. Okay, I assign all the outputs of my load controller to their channels. Something to point out is that this little icon here says that this controller's been modified. And down here, it says I've assigned 100% of my fixtures, but I have 0% of devices saved. That's because I need to save to a device before the changes I've made in System Builder are active out in the field. Right now, these changes and assignments only exist here in System Builder, not out in the field on the actual device. There's multiple ways, as with anything in Dynalite, to save to a device. You can select it and go Device, Save to Device, or you could use the icon here to save to device. You can even right-click and save to device. So that'll bring up this dialog that lets you save changes. The first time you write to a brand new device, using save modified device data is fine. And any subsequent time you're working on it, save modified should be fine also, but it's only going to save any changes you've made. If you're on a site and you think that the System Builder file you have is not up to date, and there may be changes to the device that aren't in System Builder, then you need to do a resave all device data. That's going to overwrite whatever's on there. It takes longer to do, which is why we don't do it every time. But if there's a possibility that System Builder is out of sync with what's actually on the device, you want to make sure you do that so that you don't accidentally brick the device by having System Builder write changes to the wrong place. So we're going to save these, and you can see down here that my network log is going crazy while it writes to that controller. The hotkey for this, which you should learn, is F12. F12 is really great to open this save to device window. You do this so often that memorizing that F12 does this is a really good idea. So now, once this finishes up, you'll see I'll be at 100% devices saved, 100% fixtures assigned. So I'm in good shape here. It shows I've got 100% complete on all my devices. All the lines are there. We're good to go. Next step, we're going to program and name presets. I go to Master Bedroom and I right-click on it. I can go Edit Presets. It will take me to the Areas tab, select Master Bedroom, and open up the Preset tab. In here, I've got a lot of presets. For the Master Bedroom, I like high, medium, low. I don't really need medium, but that's okay. I got low and off. And then I don't actually need these extra presets. So I'm just going to highlight them and delete them. I only need these 4. All right. And then high, everything at full. That's perfect. Medium, I'm actually going to go 50% for this. So I can either grab this slider and try and get it right, or I could even type in 50. Okay. And maybe I'll have the bed lamps, maybe I'll have the downlights a little lower. Okay. And then for low, this is like bedtime. I'm actually going to turn off the downlights and just have the bedside lamps glowing just a little bit. And I'm going to rename this late night. Perfect. And then off, everything at 0. Perfect. Now, I've modified these presets. You'll notice that the master bedroom area says that the device for this area has been modified. That means these changes I made here in System Builder are not active on that device yet. So just like before, we need to write to the device. We can do it here by saving to all modified devices in the area. We're going to say yes. So you can see here it just did a very short write. Just what is that? 72 to 85, just 13 lines of messages to make that small change of modifying these presets. You can see that we're fully saved to our devices. We've now modified a preset. But you know what, I want to modify some home theater presets too, because you know the home theater would have a lot of presets. So high, medium, low. I think I want these to be really low, like just as dark as I can get it. Oh, but you know, that's not good enough though, because some of these lights in the front are still going to shine on the projection screen. So I'm actually going to create a presentation mode. For presentation mode, I'm going to turn off the lights in the front. I'm going to set the middle to say 25%. And then the back can be a little bit brighter at say 40%. And actually presentation mode isn't good. This is a house, right? Not a boardroom. This is movie mode. Perfect. Now, if I had any automation, I could also have like the screen drop down and the projector turn on and change to the right input, that sort of thing. So, okay, but I don't need these extra presets, so I'll just get rid of those and clean that up. And then what about the exterior? The exterior, those lights aren't even dimmable. So I need to make sure that those aren't going to dim. So I'm going to rename this to on. And I'm going to actually set medium and low to hidden so that no iPad interfaces or touchscreens or anything, nothing's going to show those two. So it's only going to have on and off as its options. Go back to building view. All right, we've made some presets. Now we want to learn how to search and add a device. So what we want to do here is open the window that we had open before, Control L, insert devices from network. You can also do it from the insert dropdown. And now we want to add a user interface. With a user interface, you can press and hold a button and it will sign on to the network. Any button. Or you could press the sign on button on the back if you can get to it. But typically we would press and hold a button. So I'm going to press and hold button 1 and waiting. There it is. So you saw it signed on here and now here it is in my list. So this is my first user interface in my mini training kit. Once again, I need to add this to a plan. I need to pretend this is in a room somewhere. Well, I know the home theater has lots of presets, so it definitely needs a button station. And I think right there to the side of the door so that you can see it when you come in is a perfect spot. But what if I don't want to run around signing everything on? What if I know something's out there and I want to add it to the list? Well, I can search for devices too. I can search by type, where I can search the different types of devices or even all product groups. But if I search for all product groups, you can see it's searching a ton of things. and it will be here for a long time. So that's not ideal. What if I search for user interfaces? Well, there's a bunch of different types of user interfaces. So it's going to be here for a while. The ideal way to do this, when you get good at this, is to search by device code. So I happen to know the mini training case user interfaces are what's called a Revolution panel, and they are a UPAN 9, a Universal Panel 9. So if I search for just these, it very quickly makes it through all the possible options and finds them all. There's the one that we already added, and there's the second one. Now you can search for Antumbras this way, sensors, or some people just set it to device type, set it to all devices, hit search, and go get a coffee and come back 10 minutes later when every device on the job has been found. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to drag it and drop it, let's say here. It'd be handy to have something in the living room, kind of right by the gap to the dining room, by the doors from the porch. It's a handy spot for user interface. Now we want to program these user interfaces. So I am going to double click on it. That finds it here in the list. When I'm here, I'm going to toggle off my floor plan and open up my device properties so I can edit the buttons on it. You might have your floor plan on a different monitor so that you didn't have to do that. But just so you know, up here are the icons for showing the floor plan or switching between properties window and floor plan window. So this is in my theater. So I'm going to rename it Home Theater. If you didn't know this, in Windows, when you select something, pressing F2 lets you edit the name. It's very handy, saves you a lot of time. Living room. Okay, so the home theater keypad, well, I want this first one to be high, preset high, to send preset high. That's makes sense, the first button, but I'm going to actually get engraving made for this that says bright. So I'm going to just label that button bright. That's just a name. You don't use it to order your engraving or anything, but in here now I know that's my bright button and it's sending preset 1 high. That's perfect. This one is doing medium. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then this one is low. Perfect. Maybe dim. I like the dim better than low. Okay, and then this one, I want this to be my movie mode. So I'm going to call this button movie mode. I'm going to change the preset to movie mode. Perfect. You know what? I'm actually going to put a 5-second fade on there so that it goes really smoothly. Now I have these two little split buttons at the bottom. Ramp up, I like that. And then this one's a ramp down. Perfect. Now, I feel pretty good about how that's situated, but you know what? I need an off button, so I'm going to make this the off button. But then you know what? For this button, I actually want to be able to turn off the lights in the hallway. You know, that way, if the door is open, somebody opens the door to the home theater, the lights from the hallway aren't super bright. So for this, I'm going to make it preset. I'm going to set it, instead of being a preset button, I'm going to make it a one-touch button that lets me turn something on and off, toggle between being on and off. And I'm going to change the area. All the buttons we did here were set to the home theater area. And the reason why is because it's in the home theater area, because that's where we put it on the plan. But for this button, I need to change the area to hallway. Now I have a button that I can toggle to turn the hallway on and off. Our panel is programmed. But if I press the buttons on it, you can see it sends the guest shower on. Why is it doing all these guest shower things? Oh, I haven't saved this programming. That's why this icon says modified and the device is saved says 0. So I need to hit F12 and save the modified device data. You can see down here the network log is going crazy while it updates that device, and all the buttons on the device, all the indicators are flashing right now to show that it's being written to. So I know I've written to that device and made its changes. Now, go ahead and pause this, program your two buttons, play around. I highly suggest you see what the other options in here are, besides ramping, preset, and one touch. But those are the ones you're going to use for almost everything. So we have searched for devices. We've signed on devices. But what if we want to pre-program devices? What if we want to add a device before we get to site so that we can do some of this commissioning ahead of time? Well, there's great ways to do that. The way we're going to do it is using the palette. We have a device palette up here. And I can say, add a device to the palette. Here's our list of devices we can use. I'm going to go to sensors. Now, what you have this set to is going to determine what you see. So I want a DUS 360 CR sensor. I want to add that to the palette. So now you see it up here like anything else. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to say, you know what? My kids leave the lights on in the bathroom all the time. I'm putting a sensor in it. Okay. It's in the guest bathroom. It's named guest bathroom. Love it. Let's configure our settings. So I toggled off my floor plan for a minute so I could go into the settings. I've got motion control up here and the two types of light control. For motion control, I have a table here. And this table is going to determine what that sensor does. Right now it's empty. So even though motion control is enabled, it's not doing anything. I can see the logical area set to guest bathroom because that's where I dropped it on the plan. So I'm going to add 4 presets to this: high, medium, low, and off. They're not enabled right now because they're not doing anything. But what I want to do is if somebody leaves the lights on in the bathroom, I want the lights to turn off. So I'm going to go to on no motion. I'm going to double click on it and it opens this pop-up where I can tell it what should it do when it's in preset 1 high and there's no motion. I want it to send a preset, and the preset I want it to send is 4. Fade time at 2 is fine. So now it's enabled. When guest bathroom is in preset high and it times out using the global timeout, it will send preset 4, turning the lights off. Remember, preset 1 in Dynalite is expected to be everything at full. Preset 4 is expected to be the off preset. I have a timeout here of 10 minutes. That is the global timeout. Now, if I wanted to use something other than the global timeout, I could uncheck this box and enter an individual timeout for that preset. But I'm happy with the global timeout for this. This very simply says, if there's no motion when the lights are on, turn them off. But what if I didn't have small children and I actually just wanted the lights to turn on whenever anybody walked in there, so they don't even have to press the button? Maybe this is a bathroom at a restaurant or something where there is no switch. So I would then come here for preset off and edit the on motion action. I'd give it a preset and tell it to go to high. So what this table is saying right now is, if the lights are off and you see motion, turn them on. If the lights are on and you don't see motion for 10 minutes, turn them off. So this is a very simple occupancy detection configuration. There's way more you can do with this, such as creating grace periods or having different settings for different times of day, that sort of thing, having different timeouts for different brightness levels. There's a lot you can do with this, but we're going to say for now this is good. I have a DUS 360 now on my plan, and it's here and it's configured, but you can see it says unassigned. It has no box number. It has no address. So I can hit F12 till I'm blue in the face, but I can't save to this device because it doesn't have an actual device in the world yet. So I have a DUS 360 here. And let's say this is my DUS 360 on site. So I'm going to open Control L, open my insert devices from network window again, switch it to the discovered devices, and then I'm going to sign on this sensor. Now, there's a bunch of ways you can do it. So when a device is plugged into the network, it'll sign on. But you can also, with sensors, either press the service switch on the front of it, which looks like an indicator LED, or if it's high up in the ceiling, you could sign it on with an IR remote, or you can use the flashlight on your phone or an actual proper flashlight / torch if you're outside of the US, and shine it across the light sensor quickly, and that'll cause it to sign on. But either way, once it signs on, you'll see it here in the discovered devices list. Now I can take this sensor and I can drag and drop it onto my pre-programmed device. So now this sensor has a box number too, and I can save to it. F12, save device data. And now the sensor is going to start working. So that just shows you how you can pre-commission devices, discover them on site, and drag and drop them onto the device on the plan. It's also the way you would use the plan to replace a device. And you don't just have to drag and drop it on the plan, but if you were doing maintenance, you're replacing something broken, you could drag and drop a device onto the network tree here in the view window as well. Next, let's add another one. So where would we do some daylight harvesting? Well, there's some crazy big windows in the living room. So let's put a sensor here to do daylight harvesting. And properties, F2 to rename it, we'll call it living room sensor. So we're going to go to light control closed loop. This is the type of you would normally use for daylight harvesting. Open loop is more of what you would use for like a PE cell to turn on landscape lighting. So in open loop, same thing. It's enabled, but we have this table here that's completely empty. Until we populate this table, nothing happens with this sensor. So I'm going to come in here, populate it with our 4 typical presets, and then I'm going to actually disable this for every preset but preset 1 high, because I only want daylight harvesting to happen when the lights are set to full. If someone selects a dimmer preset, they want to have control of what those lights are. We don't want it to just start dimming them. Here we have the target lux level. So this is the level that the sensor is going to try to dim towards, either dimming up or dimming down based on what the light level is in the room underneath that sensor. If I only wanted to dim one channel, then I would come up here to channel and select, say, just the downlights are going to be daylight harvested. If you enable it in the off preset, the lights will never turn off, right? It will always be trying to dim them either down or up to target that 400 lux. So that is daylight harvesting. Last but not least, I want to teach you guys how to create schedules in a time clock. We have a couple devices now that have this type of time clock in them, but the main one you're going to use is an Ethernet gateway, also known as a PDAG, Philips Dynalite Ethernet Gateway. Now, since I don't have one in my training case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one to the plan from the palette. So I'm going to add the PDAG to the palette. It's in Network Devices, PDEG. If you want to know, make sure you got the right thing, you can open up the product details. And now I have one to add. Where am I going to put my PDEG? It is also going to be in the garage. Let's create some schedules. Go to the device properties. Here is my schedules tab. So I'm going to take this first schedule and I'm going to say, I want to turn on the exterior lights at night. So exterior on. Perfect. We're going to enable it. And I want it to happen every day of every month, every week of the month, every month of the year. Perfect. Because, I want to turn on these lights all the time. And then, but what type of event or what time do I want it to happen? Well, I don't really want it to happen at 9 a.m. obviously. But I also don't want it to happen at an absolute time. I want it to happen when it gets dark out. So I'm going to do before, how about after sunset? So it takes about 15 minutes for it to get dark after sunset. So I am going to tell it, say 5 minutes after sunset to turn on. Perfect. So 5 minutes after sunset, but it's not doing anything right now. I named it exterior on, but it's not doing anything. So I am going to set this to send a preset high to the area exterior. Sweet. And you can see I've got on and off. So on. I want this to turn on 5 minutes after sunset all the time, every day of the week. Perfect. Next schedule. Well, I want to turn those off, right? So exterior off. I think I wanted to do something different on weekdays and weekends. So weekday. Okay, I'm going to enable this guy. And I'm going to say on not on Friday or Saturday, because those are the weekend to me. Friday night and Saturday night, that's the weekend. That's where we're going to stay up late. So on school nights, when I've got work in the morning, I want this to happen at an absolute time, but not 9 a.m. That's too late. I want these lights to turn off at, say, 10 p.m. Oh no, 22 is 10 p.m. Okay, so 10 p.m. I want, so I added an action, a preset action. I want the exterior lights to turn off. Now, they are non-dim. They're switch load, so I don't need a fade time for that. Okay, so on a weekday, I want these things to turn off at 10. But on the weekend, they're not going to turn off anymore. So I need to fix that. So I'll duplicate this and name it weekend. And then I'll change these days to just be Friday and Saturday. And instead of turning off at 10 p.m., maybe I'll turn them off at 2 a.m. Yeah. Ooh, but here's my problem. 2 a.m. is the next day. So I actually need that to happen on Saturday and Sunday, not Friday and Saturday. So Saturday and Sunday mornings at 2 a.m. we'll turn off the exterior lights. Perfect. So we now, because I copied it, the action is already here. We now have schedules that turn things on and off. Perfect. But, let's say I had office lighting that I wanted on from a certain time to a certain time, just when people are working. So I'm going to pretend for a second this is an office building, and I'm going to say office lights, and I'm going to enable it. And I'm going to tell it, well, people only work on weekdays. So I only need to do this on working days. Dates and stuff are fine. And I want to do a timed event now. And I'm going to have a start action. It'll be a preset. What it's going to do is it's going to turn, and we're just going to say the guest bedroom is the office. Perfect. Okay. It's going to turn on the lights at some point. Okay. And then here at some point, it's going to turn off the lights. Okay, so action, preset off. So we have a start action and end action now. And I can set the start time. Well, people start getting into the office at about 7. And people leave the office at 5, which is 1700. Perfect. So from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., the lights will be on in the guest bedroom, or the office as it is. Ooh, but you know what else I want to do during that time? I want to do motion control. So I want to take the motion control in that area, and I want to disable it so that the lights stay on throughout the workday. I don't want these two messages to come really, really fast together. So I'm going to put short delay in between the messages. That's just so we don't overload the network with too many messages too fast. And then at night, when the lights turn off, we are going to motion control. We're going to enable the motion sensors back on so that if anybody's working late, the sensors will turn the lights on for them. 2 things to note. I've made this mistake myself a number of times. After you set your schedules and everything, or before you leave your site, make sure you write to your PDAG. Make sure you set the time zone for where you are, and use this command here, set real-time clock. You can also get to it in the context menu to set the time on the time clock. Otherwise, your schedules will be running on Sydney time. So that is the end of the commissioning. So now I want to talk to you a bit about support resources. The number one best way to get support quickly for yourself is the System Builder User Guide. Everything I covered in this class and more is in that guide. So if you go to the help menu or press F1, it will open a PDF, and this PDF has in it all the things you could want and more. It's got all the content we went through and different ways to do it. It's all linkable. You can search it. Start there. That's a really good place to start. And in fact, in that help menu, there's also user guides for the Ethernet gateway, the PDAG. There's guides for some of our Dynamic Touch and Vision Touch, our apps. There's guides for the new touchscreen. There's guides for the Entumbra commissioning. There's lots of things available right here in the help menu of System Builder. And the other great place to go is dynalite.org/support. This is the Dynalite distributor site. Once you have signed an NDA and you have you've completed this training, your partner manager should be able to get you access to the distributor side of the Dynalite.org site. Great place for firmware, FAQs, spec sheets, whatever you need. Lastly, there's the partner portal. The partner portal has a lot of information on it. You've got the technical support button, which takes you to the knowledge base. Here's a place where you can search for FAQs. Included in those FAQs is a tasking wiki that can teach you all about something called tasking, which is the ability to take any Dynalite device and write custom code for it using assembly code, which makes it almost infinitely flexible. There's also proposition FAQs for like Interact Hospitality and such. You go there, search the knowledge base for the thing that you the question you have. If you don't see the answer you're looking for, at the bottom of that search will be a button that says Request Support. That will then allow you to open a ticket, and myself or another system expert will answer it within 24 hours. Lastly, on the partner portal, there is a training button. From there, you can select Dynalite, and there will be lots of courses there on advanced topics and such, as well as old S-Talks and webinars covering more advanced topics, new features, things like that. There's also an assessment you can take now that you've completed this training that will allow you to get access to some more features and a technician's license, which is really important, especially if you're going to be commissioning dolly projects. That assessment can be found on Dynalite.org through the training menu. So that fleshes out this foundation training. Thanks.